Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point podcast. This is episode number 23, I think. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I'm joined here once again by Lewin.
Hello.
It's been a minute. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It has been a hot minute since we last did this. Last time we did...
It was so long, it was like 2 months.
Yeah, that is actually, besides our one hiatus earlier in the year, that's how...
Oh no, I think of it as it's all one hiatus. We just so happened to be like, well, Suicide Squad came out, so we'll just do an episode. But we're back.
Professionalism in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's more than can be said about most video game companies, am I right?
Why is everything 2022 now?
Also, you know, video game companies like to touch people.
Hey, that's why we can't have McCree anymore. Good old McCloud. Yeah.
Well done to Blizzard for renaming McCree, because that solves the problem. Good job. Well done.
What a banger to start the opening. No, sorry, banger is the wrong word.
Oh, this is a shit show. Love it. Okay, anyway, so yeah, we took like a bit of a break for various different reasons, mostly to do with me, probably, because I was just like, you know what, I'm just not fucking doing it. You know what I mean? I just had a period of time where I was just like, I don't want to do this, and so we didn't. But then Suicide Squad came out, and I was like, hey, let's talk about Suicide Squad. But ever since then, I've been itching to get back, but there's just been nothing to talk about, and we've been in lockdown here in Australia for like
2 months.
3 months.
3 months. So, oh yeah, you've been longer than I have. Yeah,
I've been in lockdown since like mid-July, early July. It's when I started streaming Persona and doing like 7-hour Persona streams. That's how long I've been in lockdown. As soon as you've noticed, I've stopped doing Persona streams now. It's because I'm not in lockdown anymore. I like to think of this episode as we're back.
Yeah.
Properly back, you know, because there's a lot of
We don't plan on stopping again for a while.
No, unfortunately. But no, we got a lot coming up. We got, you know, James Bond is already out. If you live anywhere in the world that isn't Australia.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's not out until November 11th, but we got that coming out. We've got the new Edgar Wright film coming out. We've got all sorts of things, Resident Evil, and that's basically a preview of what episodes we have for the rest of the year, as well as Doctor Who starts in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. And I mean that sincerely when I say that's very exciting, because even though I have the lowest of expectations for this series, I mean, it's Doctor Who, man. Like, you gotta get excited for that shit when it comes around. You know, I'm gonna ride the hype train over the next couple of weeks as long as I can, and then as soon as the first episode airs and it's shit, I'm gonna be like, well, you know, at least I had that few weeks of hype.
You're gonna be waiting for the second episode. Both Woman Who Fell to Earth and Spyfall were actually decent episodes in their seasons. It's always the second episode that tends to punch you in the gut.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Doctor Who, that got announced. Before we get into it, this episode we're talking about Baby Driver.
You might be confused, but
look, it's been a while, but we're going to be doing to celebrate Edgar Wright's new film at the end of the month. We're doing a trilogy of Edgar Wright themed episodes. We're doing Baby Driver this episode, and then we're going to do the Cornetto trilogy next episode, and then we'll talk about Last Night in Soho to cap off the trilogy. And you might be thinking, Lewin, I know you're thinking this right now. You might be thinking, hang on, there's another Edgar Wright movie, and it's called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Well, I'll tell you what, Lewin. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
You know, we actually covered that last year. Did you know that?
I did know that. That's actually what I was thinking. You weren't far off. I was like, wait, trilogy? Okay.
That was a meta joke. But yeah, no, we've already done that. That's why we're not doing it now, because we already done it. You can
go check out our back catalogue. Available.
It's in the back catalogue. It's somewhere back there. It was early. It was one of the early ones. Go watch it. But yeah, we've already done that episode, so we thought we'd do the rest of them all together at once in a trilogy of Edgar Wright themed episodes. So this is episode, I guess, 2 of the trilogy, but this is also episode 1 of the actual trilogy of episodes. I think I described that well then. I think we did a good job.
Good job. And don't worry, the back catalogue's always going to be there, we hope. It's not like the BBC. We won't burn over tapes.
Like also the BBC, we also don't promote our show. But yeah, speaking of promoting shows, Doctor Who got announced for October 31st.
That date may sound familiar. It is known as Halloween for most people.
And most people, unless you're Australian, in which case...
Please stop.
The new series, which we've already known was going to be a serialized format. It was going to be 6 episodes long, and we got a title. It's called Doctor Who Flux, which goes up there. It's going up there with Key to Time and Trial of a Time Lord as like series long arcs, and I'm pretty keen for it. I think it's we've always had like story arcs, but this is like taking it to the next level. I think with the modern series. So.
Yes, this is New Who's Trial of the Time Lord sort of thing, or maybe Key of Time. Depends how they do it. Key of Time might be more accurate. This is
Chibnall and Whittaker's. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that. This is Chibnall's redemption arc. That's what this series is. It's his redemption arc. Could you imagine if this series was so fucking good that like
it retroactively made his previous stuff good? I would be amazed.
I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen, but I mean, because here's the thing: even if this series is good, it's not gonna make what he's done previously good. It's still gonna be shit. It's just what he's doing now is good. But what I'm amazed by, like, because most people don't like Chris Chibnall. Like, I think that's a fair thing to say. Even the people, like, who aren't the anti, SJW brigade that go on about that kind of stuff. Even, like, just normal Doctor Who fans don't really like Chris Chibnall. Or the modern series, for that matter. Like, obviously there's people that do. It's a generalization. I'm not saying that everyone hates Chibnall. I'm just saying it's a pretty given fact that the majority of the fandom isn't a fan. Yeah. Let's just say that. And I mean, look, I think he's got big ideas. He's just a shit writer. That's it. That's all I think. And I think also that it's going to be good that he's leaving, because then we get RTD, who is an award-winning writer, who has also produced 3.5 good series of Doctor Who, and like the bad episodes in those series, and you know which ones I'm talking about.
Why do you hurt me in this way?
They're not his fault. Like, he didn't write them. Where the problem with Chris Chibnall is most of the bad episodes are his episodes, or episodes that he's had his grubby little hands on. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the next series, and I hope they both get to leave on a bang. We've got 6 episodes this year, 3 specials next year. And I hope it's going to be good. Genuinely. Like, I want it to be good. But yeah, there's a lot of discussion going on about the marketing at the moment. Even prior to the marketing actually kind of starting. But yeah, we'll leave that for other people to talk about. If you want some interesting... I actually watched a video from Mr. TARDIS. So shout out to Mr. TARDIS Reviews, a YouTuber who is way bigger than either of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a video on like the marketing and stuff, and so go check that out if you want to learn more about Doctor Who marketing, because that sounds like an interesting topic.
Somehow it is.
But yes, that's coming out, so we're going to be covering that, so keep an eye out for that. And I just hope it's good. Yeah. Do you know what else I hope is good, Dawn?
What?
We got a trailer fucking finally for the new Resident Evil film.
What?
Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
I need to check this out now. I am shook.
Oh, isn't it convenient that I happen to have a link that I just sent you?
I find it very convenient that I have clicked on this and I'm now on the video. What is this episode?
What is going? I don't even know what's going on, honestly. But yeah, so what I thought we'd do is we could maybe just give this a go and see how it is, and maybe it can become a more regular segment. But I thought, why not? Let's give it a go.
Try new things.
And I thought we'd do some kind of like trailer reaction. Obviously you can't see us because this is a podcast, but what I'll do is I'll just edit in the trailer over the top, or underneath our voices, I guess. Our voices will be over the top. And we'll kind of just react to it as it kind of things. I just want to talk about it a bit because I want to get your thoughts on this film, because we do talk about Resident Evil on this show from time to time. And I thought, why not talk about the new film? So you've already seen the American trailer,
Yes,
which was the trailer that was dropped on all the official channels. That trailer was kind of shit, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it looked alright, but I feel like it was very tonally confused.
Yes, it was. It
was just one of those weird things where there was a song playing and it's just like, why is this song playing?
It was every modern trailer.
But what it lacked, it had a severe lack of Jill Valentine. There was like maybe 3 shots of her, which is really... It's actually... I have beef with this movie because of that. I have beef. Because as you know, Lewin, I made it very clear, Jill Valentine is the best character.
You have made that very clear over all the Resident Evil episodes we've done.
Even when we're not talking about Resident Evil episodes, I just bring it up.
It's true. It's up there with Doctor Who in popping up.
But yeah, I was and there was a severe lack of Jill Valentine, and I'm actually disappointed because it seems like, because obviously we know this film has its own kind of story going on. Like, it's not directly adapting the games.
No.
You know, it's doing kind of what like Tomb Raider did, where it like takes like scenes and moments from the games, but then it's got its own kind of general original story that has the same similar kind of premise, but it's not exactly the same. Tomb Raider 2018 did that, like the general premise of it, Lara being on the island and all that kind of stuff. Like, the general premise was there, and there were scenes that were taken directly from the video game, but it had its own original story. It had its own things going on that made it its own, including, because you haven't seen this, including Lara getting her dual pistols by the end, and you know, which is very exciting for the next movie because she's going to be like proper Lara Croft. But that's not what we're here to talk about. But the point I'm making is here, that's what I feel like this movie's going to be. Like, it's going to be like generally the same kind of premise as RE2, but it's going to be kind of like its own thing, because we already see it in the trailer. Remember how we were theorizing that RE1 would be kind of like flashback scenes?
Yes.
And like it would be mainly focused on RE2. Well, now I think it's all just happening at the same time.
Yes.
Based on these trailers. Like, I think it starts with Claire going to Chris's house and being like, haha, umbrella. And then Chris is like, oh shit, umbrella. And then the zombies are invading. And then Leon's like, oh shit, zombies. And Claire's like, oh fuck, zombies from umbrella. And then Chris is like, yo, Jill, let's go to the mansion. And then they get to the mansion and they're like, oh shit. That's what I think the plot of this That's what I think the plot of this film is. I think that was a good breakdown.
I think we
don't even need to
I was about to say we don't even need to watch the film anymore.
Don't even need to watch this movie. There we go. That's the plot of Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City is such a dumb name. I hate it. But it could be worse. It could be Resident Evil, the final chapter.
What was the budget for this before we watch the trailer?
Let's look. I mean, you can look this up.
Doing it now.
I've got a few tabs open, so I'm kind of, a bit all over the place. But I'm excited for this film just in general. Like,
bloody hell, that was fucking cheap.
Yeah. Hit me. What is it?
Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City's budget is $40 million. Which I'm almost certain they are going to make back at the box office, unless...
Oh, they're going to make... It's Resident Evil. Like, they literally don't have to spend any money on that film at all, and they make fucking bank.
For reference, the final chapter, the worst Resident Evil movie, had the same budget.
It is.
And it came back with a return of $312 million.
Yeah, that film's garbage. I mean, those films are pretty bad, but I like them a lot. In fact, I made a whole video about it, as you are well aware. And so are so many other people, and I hate it. I did make a mistake in this video, and people keep pointing it out, and it's that when I was talking about Alice getting her powers back, and how I said it didn't make sense because she lost her powers, and I guess at the time I was just angry and misinterpreted Wesker's line when he says he neutralized her powers, and so he neutralized the T virus rather than destroying it in her body. So like people keep pointing that out, and I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm not remaking the video though, you know, like I got one thing wrong, it doesn't matter, we're moving on, you know, because I feel the general point of the video still stands.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm looking forward to this one. So this is, for those who don't know, a complete reboot of the Resident Evil film franchise, and it's going to be more faithful to the games in terms of, like, one, you've got the characters from the game, so hey, that's a start.
And they're the main characters of the movie.
Yeah. But here, this takes it back to Jill Valentine. I reckon Jill Valentine is going to be in this film for, like, maybe 10 minutes. Because she's barely in the trailers. This trailer I'm about to show you, she has one shot in the trailer. So if you thought there was a severe lack of Jill Valentine in the American trailer, in the Malaysian trailer, she has one shot, and she's in the distance in the background. Like, so I reckon the best character, and arguably an important character, is relegated once again to the sidelines.
This movie's about the Redfields. We know it.
Well, I mean, the creator did say that Chris and Claire are the main characters and they drive the story forward. But it's like, if you're going to have Jill Valentine in it, especially if you've got an actress like Hannah John Carmen, like, fucking use her, you know? So I hope in the film she's in it a bit more, but yeah, just in terms of like the general tone and vibe, it seems to be more faithful to the atmosphere of those games that I haven't played. But I trust what other people say. I mean, I played RE2, and obviously Resident Evil 2 Remake was the biggest inspiration for this. The director, who I don't know his name, has actually even said that, like, he's, like, literally straight up said, you know, he loves Resident Evil 2 Remake, and he drew a lot of inspiration for that. And you can kind of tell, obviously, the outfits, you know, like Claire's jacket, even Leon's RPD uniform, very similar to the Resident Evil Remake versions, which are very similar to the originals, but I feel like they're more in line with the redesigns. And obviously the fact that this is based off mostly what seems to be Resident Evil 2, you know, the RPD looks very similar. Like, there's a lot of things in it that I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see the influence from RE2. But I want to show you this trailer, Lewin. This is the Malaysian trailer.
All right.
Which you've already seen because you've seen the Russian trailer, which is the exact same trailer as this, but now you can actually get the English voices instead of the Russian voices. But the reason why I want to show you this trailer is because it's very different to the American trailer. The American trailer is very much, like you said, a very modern trailer, and like, it does give off the general vibe of the film, but it also, I don't think, does a good enough job of it. Where with this one, I feel like this is a much better representation of what this film is, and I think this should have been the main trailer. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up now, and we're going to start it, and then what I'm going to do is I'll edit this in. So if you're listening to this, you can hear the trailer with our kind of commentary or whatever over the top, and if you're watching the video version, I'll have like a video there. I might have to like do some bits and pieces with it so I don't get, like, you know, copyright or whatever. But we're giving this a go, Lewin, and, you know, who knows, if it works out and we like it, maybe we might do more of this kind of thing in the future. But I've got it up ready to go. I've got it on 0. So right. Are you ready to go?
I am.
Alright, so what we'll do is I'll count down and we'll start it on when I say play. Okay?
Alright.
Alright. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, play. first thing that's very loud in my ears. So this is the creepy fucking truck driver from the start of RE2.
He doesn't have... Oh, there's Burger! The Burger's there.
I find it interesting that Claire's...
Hitching a ride with him?
Yeah. I think this trailer's much better.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, even just from the start, you get a much better, like, sense of... we also get a lot more of... what's his characters?
Who, Neil McDonough? Birkin.
Yeah, Birkin. I keep forgetting Birkin's name. We get a lot more of him. And it looks like Sherry there as well.
It gives a better showcase of a lot of the characters besides Jill.
Yeah, where's Jill? Jill's not even in that shot. Like, where is she? Oh, we've got the classic Resident Evil head turn there.
Code Veronica reference there.
I haven't played Code Veronica, so I don't know that. You'll have to explain that to me. This is the guy, by the way, from Gotham. This guy here, the actor. He plays the other detective that isn't Jim Gordon in that show. Yeah, so this is what, as soon as I saw that, oh, there was Jill, very briefly.
And now she's gone. For good. The best CGI use in this trailer is the liquor.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that's the money shot, right? Yeah. Well, in the American trailer, that was the money shot. That was kind of how the trailer ended.
Yeah, G-Virus Birkin looks like something out of Deathstalkers. It's an old game. Oh, not an old game, but like the one where you play as Death. Ooh.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We've got no like Nemesis or like Mr. X or anything, and it's like Birkin is, I guess, the villain.
Yeah.
Because Wesker doesn't even seem like, based on what we've seen, he doesn't even seem like an antagonist at all. Which also leads more into the idea that I think that whole bit is going to be a very small bit of the film, and I don't think Wesker's going to be in it for that long. Jill's going to be in it for that long. Like, it's going to be focused mainly on Chris and Claire, and I think Leon's just going to be kind of there. Like, I really don't think... But yeah, that was the Malaysian trailer. What did you think of that trailer?
It is far superior to the American trailer. It gives you a proper sense of what the movie's going to be, unless we're all bamboozled in the end and the American trailer was accurate, in which case, oh fuck.
Yeah, but like, it just looks a lot better. Like, it's a much better showcase of like also the actors playing the characters. Like, I feel like a lot of the American trailer was focused on Claire a lot, and like we actually get a bit more of Leon in this. We get a bit more Chris as well. We get a bit more, like I said, we got Birkin. Like the trailer has Birkin in like the first little bit, and so we get a little bit more like, we just get more like story in this. We get a better sense of like, okay, what's going on. And as people who have played the games, or in my case, I've played Resident Evil 2, there's a lot of stuff that's familiar. I think, which is, I think it's just a much better trailer, and I don't understand why this wasn't just the main trailer.
It's very confusing.
But it's like you said, the shot of the, fuck, what are they called again? Sorry, I'm really tired. I'm tired. I'm really struggling here.
The film reel?
The CGI.
Oh,
the CGI shot.
Yeah, the show the liquor.
The liquor, that's it, yeah. I was gonna say imp, and then I realized, no wait, hang on,
that's Doom.
Yeah, so like the shot of the liquor, like in the American trailer, that is the money shot. That is the shot at the very end before the title appears and whatnot. Where in this, it's kind of like halfway through, just kind of thrown in there. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how this goes, and it seems like, and we've actually seen much better. So Jill is in fact wearing a STARS uniform. I know a lot of people were concerned. Because there were a lot of leaks that came out prior to them releasing those. Remember those promo images they released? There was a lot of like leaks that came out prior to that were saying things like, you know, that Jill isn't even like a member of STARS in the film. like she's in the game and she's just kind of just a general like tactical RPD officer or whatever. But you can actually see in the American trailer, because they have more shots of Jill Valentine in that trailer, you can actually see her, because you can't see it in the promo images because like they're just shit images. But you can actually see the Stars logo on her outfit. And what's interesting about her outfit is if you look underneath the vest, you can actually see a blue top.
Hey.
So I wonder, are they going to have a scene in the film where she's going to take that vest off and she's going to have like her almost classic like RE3 outfit, just without the skirt, because she's wearing like tactical pants. Unless she decides to get changed into a skirt. She's just like, yeah, hold up a minute, and then she just takes the vest off and like does that. But so I wonder if we're gonna get that, because you can see it in the trailer and also in the promo images when you like blow it up.
Something I'm finding very interesting about the marketing for this film, besides that, it's like Doctor Who and it's practically non-existent.
Bro, I was like, when is this fucking? Because this film, I didn't even know this film was delayed. Didn't even know it was delayed, and then it was like August, right? And I was like, fuck, this film's coming out next month in September, because that's when it was meant to come out. And I'm like, this film's coming out, where's a trailer? We haven't seen literally a single thing from this film. And I'm like, it's meant to be out in a month. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then anyway, by the time I realized it was like halfway through September and we still hadn't seen anything, I had to go look up the film release date, and then that's how I found out that it was delayed until the end of November. And I'm like, there was never, to my knowledge, there was never an announcement that it was delayed.
It was very low key. I knew about the film delay,
kind of delayed,
but like, even with the film delay, the trailer not dropping until nearly.
You would think you would get a trailer like several months.
Yeah, like sure.
In advance. I don't know.
The thing
it looks interesting.
I find interesting about their marketing is it keeps saying witness the beginning of evil. Or this is the origin of evil, whatever. It's I don't know whether they're implying this leads into the bigger game universe, go buy those, or whether it's like we're getting a sequel. And looking at the budget and the potential returns, I can totally see this getting a sequel.
Oh, this 100% is going to get a sequel. There's no way this is going to be a one-off thing.
And I think a large part on that decision also comes down to, if they don't have the contracts in place already, which actors want to return.
Here's what I reckon they'll do. Resident Evil 3 is iconic. Right, it's iconic, right?
Yes.
I think they'll adapt Resident Evil 3 to a point. I think, because like I just get the sense that Jill is barely in this, and it's more of an introduction to her character rather than she's in it. So I feel like if they did do a sequel, although actually, hang on, I guess it depends, because I feel like if they did do a sequel, the Redfields, the main characters here, I feel like they would just follow through with them. But I would like to see, and I'm not just saying it because Jill's my favorite character, but I genuinely would think RE3 might be the next way to go. So, because
RE3
you don't have to...
is the only logical choice to me.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like because Jill's barely in this, that would make sense that they're setting her character up for the next film, potentially. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see it, though. I'm interested to see
agreed. Even if it's a bad film, it seems like they've packed enough stuff in there that it's at least one of those sit down and pick apart. Like, oh, there's that reference, there's that reference film.
Honestly, like, genuinely speaking, and I'm going to bring it up again, but I genuinely do reckon we're going to get something on par. I don't think it would necessarily be bad. I think we might get something on par with Tomb Raider.
A decent video game adaptation.
And I don't think that's a bad movie either. I think Tomb Raider is actually a really fucking good movie. But I think in terms of video game adaptations, I think we're going to get something similar to that, in the sense of it's just going to be more of like similar to the games, but it's not going to be exactly the same. Because the next Tomb Raider movie, Tomb Raider 2, which hasn't got an official name yet, is going to be loosely adapting both Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider into one film, kind of. And they kind of did a bit of that with the first Tomb Raider film. Like, there's a little bit of Rise of the Tomb Raider in there as well. Like, it's not straight Tomb Raider 2013. So I feel like this will do the same thing. They'll, like, loosely take the game storylines and then just kind of make... Because I feel that worked for Tomb Raider. I feel it worked really well. So I think it could work well here as well.
I reckon, I agree. And I reckon with a sequel, Resident Evil 3 fits into that mold of... it can easily fit in with the first movie, and they can keep it as a cohesive, like, connection of sorts.
Yeah, like, you don't have to destroy Raccoon City at the end of this film, you know what I mean? Like, I think in one of the trailers, I don't know if it was this one or the American trailers, but I think they said something like they're going to destroy Raccoon City or whatever. But that doesn't have to happen in this film. Like, you could have that happen in a sequel and have Resident Evil 3 be the sequel. And obviously, I think what they will do is they'll bring the characters over, so we'll probably have, like, an adaptation of Resident Evil 3.
But it's retrofitted
Leon,
to have...
Chris and Claire and that kind of thing. But that'd be interesting. But I hope it's good.
Agree.
That's all I have to say. It was a good trailer.
It was a good trailer.
That's why we watched it. But I think we should move on.
Yep.
That was fun. I don't know. Maybe we could do more of that kind of stuff in the future. If
I enjoyed that. It gave us a bit more interactivity.
Yeah, we can just. I realized I could have just screen shared that rather than just sending it to you, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Let's move on to the catch up segment. And while I am jotting down time codes, Lewin, it has been 2 months. What have you been up to lately?
Been through the lockdown, really. So on the physical side of things, not much. Media-wise, I completed Injustice: Gods Among Us for the first time.
Nice. I've never finished that game.
Yeah, you can finish it in 3 hours. It's.
Do you know? Oh, speaking of Injustice, actually, before you continue on, I don't know if it's out yet. I think it just came out, but there's an Injustice animated movie.
Yes, there is, which I haven't seen yet, but I look forward to it.
Here it is, 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Ooh.
It's got Justin Hartley as Superman, and Gillian Jacobs and Laura Bailey's in it. But yeah, it's loosely based off the Uncharted. It's loosely based off the comics and game. So I think it's adapting a lot of the comic stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. Gillian Jacobs voices Harley Quinn, and Laura Bailey is Lois Lane.
Who's Batman?
What else is? Batman is Anson Mount. He was recently in Star Trek Discovery. He was Captain Pike in Star Trek Discovery, and he also has his own show coming soon. They kind of spun that off with the OG Enterprise crew, Captain Pike and Spock, and I think that's the show coming, which I'm not going to watch. I don't watch Star Trek Discovery either, but he was most recently that, and he's voicing Batman. With Damian Wayne in it, Green Lantern, Mirror Master, Catwoman. But yeah, that's coming out, so I'm gonna have to watch that. I want to watch that because I love the Injustice universe. That's fun. So a little cheeky animation based off it. That's pretty cool too.
It was a pretty decent
but
game.
Yeah, anyway, it is. I've never gotten to finish it.
It's real. If you ever do have like a few hours where you've got literally no idea what to do, it's quick.
Yeah, I mean, Injustice 2 is pretty quick. Like, I started playing that when I played through that once already, but I was playing through it earlier this year when I was bored. I think it was before Resident Evil came out, and I was playing through it, and yeah, I very quickly got like halfway through the game, and I never finished it again. I never got to that part, and then recently I uninstalled it off my PC, and I was streaming it via xCloud. And the save, for some reason, for that particular game doesn't carry over. So I was like, I have to start it again, and I'm like, nah, I'll just install it. I'll just install it to play it again. But that's a good game. I love Injustice 2 a lot. That's a fun game.
Besides that, been rewatching Doctor Who as always. Currently up to season 6, and
good season.
Good season, I agree. Besides that, I am also watching through Classic Who for the first time. through the Bill Hartnell years. And
Oh, the Billy Hartnell years.
Billy Hartnell years.
I don't think anyone's ever called him Billy Hartnell.
I never said Billy, I said Bill.
I know that's what you said, and then I said Billy.
That's a fair argument. Okay. I've discovered, after watching an episode last night, I've discovered possibly my favourite episode of his era so far, which I didn't expect, The Romans. Have you ever...
I haven't seen that one. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a hell of a lot of that particular era of Doctor Who.
It was the Dalek Invasion of Earth was actually previously my favourite serial in the William Hartnell years, but Romans takes it because it starts off as like the darkest goddamn Doctor Who story, with some dude getting murdered as always, and then the Doctor's companions get sold into slavery.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff.
Good start.
I love it.
And then, by the end of it, it becomes slapstick comedy with the Emperor Nero chasing around Barbara for sex. And the Doctor casually always missing where his companions are. It becomes an absolute... Because they're all in Rome, but they don't know that they're all in Rome.
Right.
So... the Doctor and Barbara and all that keep crossing paths, but just missing each other. Like Donna and the Doctor in Partners in Crime.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
It was
That's hilarious. Man, fucking early classic Doctor Who was
bad
wild.
shit. And I loved it. I was like, this is so stupid. It's great. And
the Doctor is a terrible person too.
It kickstarted his love of intervention, I think. Because he accidentally burns a map of Rome and gives Nero the idea to start the Great Fire of Rome.
Right.
And Vicky, his companion at the time, is like, "You did this, Doctor." He's like, "No, you mustn't ever say that. How dare you?" And then he thinks about it for 5 seconds, like, "Oh, I guess I did." While he's been preaching strict no intervention like the Time Lords before that.
What else? Anything you've been playing lately? What have you been up to? I mean, I see you playing shit all the time. So if it's always something different though. So like,
I've just been cycling through old things. Nothing really.
I saw you were playing Life is Strange.
Oh yeah, I finished that.
Yeah,
really.
That's like
I enjoyed it.
The best one. I love that one.
Now I'm on to Life is Strange 2.
Oh no, the worst one. No, don't do it. No, I'm going to stream Life is Strange 2 later this year at some point. In between when the remasters come out next year, I'm going to stream Life is Strange 2 and actually finish it. Because I thought to myself, I went, you know what? Even if it's shit and I still hate it, like all these years later, at least it'll be a fun stream series and we can make fun of it. Like at the very least, I also feel like enough time has passed since I initially played it that I'm like, you know what, it's fine now. It's whatever. Life is Strange True Colors came out and that's just a better game, like objectively speaking, so I'm happy with that. That's fine. But yeah, at some point I'll play it. But yeah, Before the Storm's good. It's a good game. Made by Deck 9 Games.
They did True Colors, didn't they?
Who also made True Colors, correct.
I feel like I didn't care much about the ship as much as a lot of other people did. I wasn't all there for the Chloe-Rachel romance.
I mean, you can choose for it not to be a thing.
And that's what I did, and I was still happy with how it played out. It was a good game. I probably do prefer it over the first game.
Honestly, whether you choose for Chloe and Rachel to be together or not, it doesn't make much of a difference. And the reason why is because the first game only implies that might have happened, but it doesn't straight up say. Like, you get the sense playing the first game that Chloe and Rachel were very close, but also Rachel was sleeping with Frank and also Mr. Jefferson. So it's not like they were together prior to the first game. So the first game's very careful. I think Before the Storm does a really good job at kind of tiptoeing down that path without flat out being like they are together. Because even if you do choose to kiss Rachel in that scene, I mean, I think of that as canon anyway. Like, I do feel like it makes sense for them to have at least been together for some period of time.
Yeah.
But also, like, yeah, you can. They did a really good job with that game of, like, the way the story plays out. They become really, really, really close friends, or you can get them together. And interestingly, that actually ties back into later on, when you played Life is Strange Wavelengths, that ties back into that, because there's a line, I don't know if you did this, you might, it's when you go talk to Steph.
Yes.
And she asks Chloe whether her and Rachel are a thing, because she's planning on making a move. So depending that actually... Yeah, so it comes back into that in Life is Strange Wavelengths as well. Not so much about that itself, but there's some lines of dialogue where basically, because the first thing that happens when you play Life is Strange Wavelengths is it asks, have you played Season 1, and did you sacrifice Arcadia Bay, or did you save Chloe? That's what it asks you before the game starts, and then depending on which option you select depends on how Steph reacts at certain parts of the game. So she's either going to be reminiscing and reacting to her town being destroyed and her parent, like her mother, basically dying. You don't see any of it, you just hear it.
Yeah.
As she's like kind of struggling, because like every year on the anniversary of Arcadia Bay being destroyed, she kind of struggles a bit, and so like she sees album covers with like tornadoes on it, and so you suddenly start hearing like this eerie music and tornado sound effects, and then you hear dialogue where, like, you know, her mother's telling her to, you know, like, hide or whatever. There's a few of these throughout the game, but then there's one part where they're playing D&D, and if you sacrifice Arcadia Bay when you're playing D&D with Mikey over Zoom, Steph like reminisces for a moment, and you actually hear like this whole little bit with Chloe and Rachel, and it's like Steph's flashing back into her mind to a time when then like her, Chloe, Mikey and Rachel were all playing D&D, and so you've got a bit of dialogue there. But if you choose to if you choose to not save Chloe, that's what I meant to say before. I meant to say sacrifice Arcadia Bay or not save Chloe.
Yeah.
And then I said save Chloe look, it doesn't matter. You know.
I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, if you choose to do that, instead, it's a lot of it's actually Mikey giving like a eulogy at Rachel's funeral, and then I don't know if it's like meant to be like a joint thing for both Chloe and Rachel, because they're both dead.
Yeah.
But and then so it's like her talking about that. But either way, it doesn't matter which option you pick. That conversation ends with Steph being like, what does she say? She says something along the lines of like, I spent so much time being like jealous and angry at Chloe and Rachel. Instead, I should have just been like grateful that they were in my life as they were. So it's kind of interesting, which again is further implying that Rachel and Chloe were a thing.
Yeah.
But also, like, yeah, Steph spent a lot of time apparently being jealous, and like the game hints, and this is my problem with Wavelengths, is the game hints that there was some kind of drama and falling out. And I thought, oh, maybe that's why they're going to explain why Steph's not present in the first game. And then that just kind of goes nowhere. And I was a bit disappointed by that. But yeah, it was interesting how it all kind of ties back together. The main game of Life is Strange True Colors doesn't obviously tie into anything, but Wavelengths does.
Yeah, I saw Steph in that, and I was like, oh, cool, because Steph is one of my favourite characters from Before the Storm. Her and Mikey.
Yeah, so both her and Mikey are in Wavelengths.
Awesome.
Steph interacts with a few characters, but you never physically interact with anyone except like you talk with Mikey over Zoom, and then because you're hosting a radio show, like several of the characters of Haven Springs will ring up and you interact with people over the radio show.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I've been streaming Life is Strange True Colors on the channel recently.
You've also been streaming Life is Strange Wavelengths.
I did. I streamed both.
That is why I sent you the message going, hey, what is this? Because I saw your stream pop up in my feed while I was doing something. And I was like, oh, what the fuck is Wavelengths?
It was a really good stream series. I think it went really well. I've also got a clip up on my second channel. Little cheeky clip. But that was a really fun series. I had a really good time playing that game. And I actually made a video about it as well, kind of after the fact. So you can go and check that out on my channel where I talk about Life is Strange True Colors. Now that I've had a bit of time with it, I'm not 100% sure. Like, it's not my favorite. I think Before the Storm is still my favorite, but I'm not sure if I like it more than the first game or not yet. I have to replay it, but I don't know, I just feel like I do. I think it's a game that just absolutely nails the Life is Strange identity, and like the characters are also well written, and the story's really intriguing. Like, there's a really intriguing story to it, and they do a lot of interesting things with Alex's power of empathy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff, and of course Steph is in it, and obviously I romance Steph. But yeah, there's like a whole episode that's dedicated to a LARP as well. Like, you're just doing a LARP the whole time, and it literally plays like an RPG. Like, it plays exactly how an RPG plays, but you're LARPing, and through the power of like Alex's power, she's able to feel other people's emotions. So when the kid gets his sword at the end, he gets all really happy, and through Alex's power, the world actually transforms into like a medieval world. And then when you do the boss battle, it's actually a boss battle with like health bars, and they actually have abilities and doing shit. It's like really cool. It was like one of my favorites, and like it's just such a good game. What's very exciting about this game, and why I'm excited for the remasters, is because this is the first Life is Strange game to use also facial motion capture.
Yep.
Which works very well with Alex's powers, because her powers are all about like emotions. So you get a lot of like subtle little facial emotion in all the acting as well. And the chick that plays Alex, so good. Like, it's such a great performance, especially in the final episode. Like, I know you love doctor speeches, you know, when the doctor does like a big speech to the bad guy at the end, and he defeats them with words, right? Like, I know, like, obviously as a Doctor Who fan, you love that kind of thing. Let me tell you, Alex, in the last episode, she has that exact same thing. The villain, who I won't obviously reveal, but the villain, she literally destroys him just with words. And it's a long scene too. Like, it's not a short scene, it's a long scene, and it's just a monologue, and it's so well performed. It's incredible. Like, this actress has done barely anything prior to this, and she's just so fucking good. So I definitely recommend play True Colors.
I will once I finish 2.
But yeah, I just thought I'd segue, since I saw you doing Life is Strange, so I thought that'd be a good segue in. But has there been anything else you've been up to lately? Anything
What have you been up to?
I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2.
You and my
couple
friend.
of months. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of it. The new season started. Season of the Lost started the same day the reveal happened. And Season of the Lost is essentially a prequel to The Witch Queen. The downside to this is we know how this season's storyline ends, because obviously we've seen the trailer for The Witch Queen, and she's the big... Savathun is like the big bad for the next DLC. So we know how it ends. Because she's a major character in this DLC storyline. Oh, not DLC, sorry, in the season storyline. So we know how it ends, but we don't know how we get to that point. And this is the longest season Destiny 2 has had too. Like, this season goes for like 6 months. Normally the seasons go for 90 days, and then at the end of the 90 days the storyline ends, and then you've got a new storyline starting. But because The Witch Queen was delayed till February, it was meant to come out, I think, probably around now actually. I think it was meant to come out around October, start of November. Because it was delayed, this season is now longer. And this season's great. This season has a really good gameplay loop. I'm really enjoying the kind of gameplay loop of the season. I'm enjoying the activities, the seasonal activities. Mara Sov is back. I was disappointed. Like, I love the opening of the Taken King in that DLC, but I was disappointed that we didn't get to see more of Mara Sov and, like, what she could do and explore her as a character a bit more. And now she's back. And that's just exciting. They've done 2 of the things that I criticized. They've fixed, and I love it. I'm happy. And I'm just keen for the new DLC. It's going to be good. But the other thing I've been playing a lot of, and I've actually been playing this since before we did the Suicide Squad episode, but I didn't talk about it. I've been playing SWTOR.
Yes.
I've been dipping my hands into the Old Republic.
Yes, good timing with the remake of KOTOR coming out, and also KOTOR the original coming to Switch.
Yes, and I've been playing a lot of SWTOR, and so I decided to go for a Sith character, because obviously, and I went for Sith Sorceress character, and so I've just got all these ridiculous lightning powers, and I love it. It's so much fun. I'm really enjoying that game, and that game has the wildest dialogue.
It does.
Like, some of the dialogue is so stupid, and it's amazing. But I'm having a really good time with that. I don't have, like, a hell of a lot to say about it. Like I could talk about Destiny Season of the Lost for days. But I don't have a lot to say about SWTOR, but I really I'm having a good time with it, and I'm really glad I jumped into it this year. Something I've always wanted to do, but just never did. And it was kind of like I was either going to do this, and like I really want to jump into Final Fantasy 14, but I'm like, I play Destiny, I play this, I don't have the time for another one of these, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play Final Fantasy 14, unfortunately.
That's
but
okay. I've been playing
really,
more
really
than enough of it for you.
The only other thing I've really done today, I watched Being James Bond, which is that Daniel Craig Bond documentary that was released on Apple TV, I think, prior to No Time to Die's release. I watched that today. Very good little doco. It's only like 40 minutes long. It's not super long, but it's basically just like a interview with like Daniel Craig and Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, and they're just kind of talking about the whole era. And there's a lot of like previously unseen footage. But it's really good. It's a really good little documentary, good reflection of Daniel Craig's time as Bond and the troubles he went through. He's talked about a lot of stuff that he previously hasn't really talked about as well. For example, like how he felt shooting Casino Royale, and how he was just being absolutely hounded by the press and the fans while trying to shoot the movie, and how that affected him, and not just him, but also affected the producers and the crew, because, you know, everyone was like trying to make this movie and they were just getting hounded. They talk a lot about Quantum of Solace, and but it's interesting that like he's injured himself, because he injured himself on that film when they were shooting that, and then they also had obviously the writer's strike around that and the potential actor's strike, and there was so much going on around that film. But then he was talking about when he broke his leg shooting Spectre, and that opening scene where, you know, the whole opening scene of Spectre, which is honestly I think the best part of the whole movie.
Yes.
But the opening, like, one take where they're going through the crowd and then he walks along the rooftop. So for the majority of filming that film, he had like I mean, he described it as a bionic leg, essentially, but he had, like, his leg was all, like, braced the fuck up because he'd broken his leg, and he was talking about how they had the options of, like, they either stop shooting for 9 months, and he has to recover, or they just finish the film. And that opening scene where he's walking along the rooftop, like, the bit where he's on, like, the edge and it just follows him out the window and all the way down to the edge of the building where he, shoots the rocket launcher or whatever.
Yeah.
That whole time he was talking about that, and he was like, my leg, he was like, he's like, it looks cool on camera, but he was like, I was just walking down there being like, I was just hoping my leg just wouldn't give. During that whole one take where he walks down there, because he was like, the reality was, like, it might look cool on camera, but he's like, the reality was my leg was shot. And, was doing that. And then they had to redo that entire opening sequence to make Bond more stealthy, because when they were shooting that sequence, how in that scene he's like, they're walking through the crowds and he's like following the guy leading up to the helicopter.
Yeah.
And they're walking through the crowds. Originally it wasn't meant to be like that. They had to change it because Daniel Craig just could barely fucking walk.
I did hear about that.
And it's interesting when you watch the film, he's walking pretty fucking quickly.
He is.
Like, for someone who can't walk, and they literally said, like, the producers were very concerned because, like, he was literally talking about how he was in agony shooting that, but he had to look cool on camera, and then they had to shoot the rest of the film with him with essentially a broken leg, and he was still doing all the stunts and shit, like the scene where, like, Dave Bautista in the train, like, picks him up and throws him against the wall. Like, he was still doing that with a fucking broken leg, and I'm like, it all makes sense why in the promotion for Spectre he was just done. It all kind of ties together and makes sense, because, like, years later when he's reflecting on it and actually talking about what it was like shooting that film, it makes sense why he didn't want to do another one.
Yeah, it didn't help that
and then
outside of Quantum of Solace, it wasn't really that worth it a film.
Yeah, and not only that, but, like, he also injured himself on No Time to Die, which also delayed that shoot as well. But you can just see, I've been watching a lot of Bond interviews recently with Daniel Craig, and he just seems so genuinely happy about No Time to Die, like, as a film, and he's experiencing, like, contrasting that to his Spectre interviews. It's a very contrasting thing. Like, he's just, and maybe it's because he's done, but also it's probably, like, he just seems like that was a much better experience than shooting Spectre. But he did also say that, like, shooting Spectre was a really great experience, despite what people might say. It's just, he spent half the time in agony shooting that film. So I was like, damn, that's a lot. It's a really good documentary. I would recommend watching it. It's got a bit of No Time to Die in there, and I will say it did get a little emotional towards the end, when they started talking about No Time to Die, and they kind of have, like, BTS footage of, like, his final day on set. His final thing he shot was, like, a wide shot of him running down a corridor on set with another guy, and then kind of running off camera in the distance, like, around the corner of the set, and that was, like, the last thing he shot. And there's a lot of, like, behind the scenes footage, it's like the normal stuff, like him giving a speech, and it's all emotional, and I was like, damn, what a journey. But I'm looking forward to No Time to Die, but I watched that, so definitely would recommend watching it. And yeah, other than that, I did watch Free Guy as well, but I won't talk about it too much because you haven't seen it, but it's a fucking great movie. It's so good. I was expecting it to be mediocre and just a bit of dumb fun, and to give it credit, it is very much dumb fun.
Yeah.
But it's just good. It's really good. You've got, like, Ryan Reynolds is great in it. I just feel like all the characters are really just well designed. The whole world is really interesting. And kind of like, how Guy realizes he's in a video game and kind of that journey that he goes on. And Taika Waititi is so good in it. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of talk about because there's like so many things in it. There's a lot of cameos in it, and trust me, they're cameos you're probably gonna miss because a lot of them are voice cameos, not like the actual actors. But there is one cameo that's fucking great, and that's an actual cameo. Actually, I don't think it's a spoiler actually, because I'm pretty sure they posted it on social media. Yeah, I don't think this is a spoiler because they posted it on I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds posted this on social media, but it's there's a Chris Evans cameo in the film. Like there was a photo on social media of him and Chris Evans on set, and it's a short cameo. It's very short, but Hugh Jackman is in there because obviously Hugh Jackman's in it because it's Ryan Reynolds. So Hugh Jackman has a cameo. There's a few other different voice cameos throughout. The Rock has a cameo in it. In fact, it's in the trailer actually, The Rock's cameo. You know the scene in the trailer where like guys working at the bank and then the guy comes to rob the bank?
Yeah.
The player comes to rob the bank. Yeah, that's Dwayne Johnson. And so that's really cool. Like there's a lot of like really cool little cameos in there, but it's just a fun movie. It's filled with references and but besides the references, it's just a really cool plot. About video game characters fighting back against the Ubisoft style corporation that they're not just video game characters. Like, video game characters are fighting back against the video game company, but also, like, the people in the real world are fighting back against them using the game. And Taika Waititi, it just plays this really great, like, villain.
Yeah.
He's just so good. Like, he's so funny. I love the bit where, like, it's in the trailer, but when, like, Ryan Reynolds' big buff version of the character, like, Dude, comes up, and, he's just like, he stands in front of Ryan Reynolds and he's just like, catchphrase, and then the guy on the tech guy on the computer is like, yeah, we haven't had time to think of a catchphrase, and it's just like Taika Waititi being like, yeah, well, I mean, catchphrase is a very groovy catchphrase, and there's a lot of like ad-libbing with them, but yeah, I watched that movie. I'd recommend watching it. It's a really fun time. I watched it on like a Saturday night. It's a good Saturday night movie, just put it on, don't think about it too much, and just have a bit of fun. That was a good catch-up segment. That went on for way longer than I thought it was going to, but, you get me talking about Life is Strange. Oh, do you know what else I've been doing? Oh, I completely forgot. I'll keep this one brief. I've been watching Elementary.
The Sherlock American one?
Yeah, the American Sherlock Holmes. I'm up to season 4. And previously I'd only ever watched like season 1, and man, rewatching series 1 was really interesting. And when I got to the reveal of like Jamie Moriarty, like I knew that was coming because obviously I've seen it before, but I don't know, like just that reveal, that whole scene, it's such a great scene.
I'm not sure if we've talked about it on the podcast, but I'm fairly sure we've talked about this before.
I think we talked about it on the podcast at some point. I think I was talking about like something to do with Sherlock Holmes. Maybe it was Sherlock. I don't know. But yeah, it's so good. It's such a good reveal. It's like definitely one of the best reveals in TV. And what I love about that show is they take like the lore of Sherlock Holmes but it's very much just like a crime of the week type thing. With an ongoing story each season almost. But it's just really good. And honestly, after watching 3 seasons, I think I'm converted. I think this is better than Sherlock.
Okay.
I genuinely think it's better. I genuinely think these interpretations of these characters are better than Stephen Moffat's interpretation of these characters. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just think these are better because like the problem I have with Sherlock is by the time you reach season 3 and 4, Sherlock is very much at the center of everything, and the show's about him. And he's also portrayed as basically a superhero. His deductive reasoning is treated more like a superpower, and it's very flashy, and everything has to revolve around
Yeah.
Sherlock. Where what I like about Elementary is he's just a guy. He's literally like he's using the same deductive reasoning, and he teaches Watson deductive reasoning and everything. But like he's just a guy. Like he's not this like special person. Like he's a recovering drug addict, and he's just a guy. And that's what I love about it. Like, and they don't. It's not flashy like Sherlock is. Like Sherlock uses a lot of flashy visuals to convey Sherlock's thinking. Where Elementary, they do a lot of the like flashes of like close-ups of things, but it's a lot of Sherlock explaining why he knows what he knows rather than showing it with flashy visuals, and it just makes it seem more down to earth and real. So yeah, I don't know. I like it a lot more. I think it's
Fair
fun.
enough. One day I might watch it.
So we're doing another retrospective. It's good. We're bringing the retrospectives back. And I thought we'd talk about Baby Driver. And like I said up top, we've already done an episode on Scott Pilgrim. So if you want to hear kind of what we think of that, you can go check that out. But I want to start, if you don't mind, Lewin, with your thoughts on the film. What are your general impressions, thoughts? You said to me earlier that this was the second time you've seen this movie. I would assume the first time you saw it was 2017, I would assume.
2017, 2018, I think. 2018,
Yeah,
I think.
Roughly around the time it came out.
Yeah,
a year
because
later or
I didn't watch
Yeah,
it in
okay.
cinemas. My mum actually absolutely fucking loves the film. So I ended up watching it like on my mum's fourth goddamn watch of the movie.
Nice.
My personal feelings on the movie. I think it's
Having just revisited it.
just revisited it.
Revisited it.
It is definitely one of the tightest action movies I've seen. Very coherent, very flashy. It's I love all of Edgar Wright's films that I've seen.
It's very Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
This film. Very Edgar Wright, yeah.
It's a solid package that I think in some regards I don't want to rank it against the Cornetto trilogy because it's one of my favorites for different reasons.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy per se. It's got hilarious moments, but it's not a comedy. Whereas the Cornetto trilogy is very much comedy.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Like this compared to his other films like Scott Pilgrim and that, like this is not a comedy film.
It's actually quite a large departure from his earlier work.
It is, yeah.
And I very much I do love the film. It's a very good film.
Yeah. Like a lot of the comedy in this comes from more like the visuals, and like the characters in this are very outlandish. Like they're not real people, you know what I mean? Like they're it's very much a case of like they're very exaggerated characters, and that's where a lot of the comedy comes from.
The jokes are very much on the fly. Whereas, it's same with Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim, but Scott Pilgrim and the Cornetto trilogy have this the comedy thing where you build up to a joke. The joke can be a scene, whereas in Baby Driver, the scene has jokes in it. It's not the main focus.
Like one of the great little visual gags, and some of it's subtle, some of it's not. Like one of the not subtle ones, like just the little Edgar Wright bit of comedy is, when I forget who it is. Is it it's John Bernthal's character. Is that how you say his name?
Bernthal? Yeah.
Yeah, his character when he's like takes baby's glasses and he just pulls out another pair of glasses, and then he like whacks the glasses off, and then he pulls out another pair of glasses after a pause, and he walks away. And then like later on in the film when he steals a car, he like has the pair of glasses that he just grabs off the dash and pops on, and so there's like little things like that are in the film. That's kind of where the comedy comes from.
It's the jokes are very much the comedy's background. It's an action film, first and foremost.
Or like the bit where he's talking to the Asian guy and he's just like, hats, and he's like, yeah, it used to say hate, but then like to increase my chances of employment, I had the E removed.
How's that working out for you?
who doesn't love hats? You know, like, it's just dumb shit. Like, just little lines that just pass you by. It's not like a big thing, which I really like. But a lot of what makes this movie different. Sorry. Actually, finish off your thoughts. Like, do you have anything else? Like, what?
No,
anything else you have to say, or is that kind of it?
It's very much, and even with the departure from like the idea of it being a comedy, it's still very much an Edgar Wright film. It very obviously is.
Well, a lot of this, you know, is a lot of the filmmaking in this is very similar to stuff he's done in all of his films. You know, the very quick smash cuts, close-ups of like things. That's been in all of his films. The way he uses, like the way he does transitions between scenes, is very similar to that. The big difference with this film, though, is yes, this film's an action movie, but I think the big difference with this film compared to his other films is this film is actually a musical. That's what it is.
Yes, it is one large music video.
It's everything in this film, and I mean everything, pretty much, is choreographed to a song. And not just choreographed in the editing, but choreographed in performance, in how the camera moves, in you know, the blocking of the scene, you know, just little things with the actors. You know, like in the opening scene, like let's just talk about the opening scene, the car chase. That is one of the best scenes ever in, like, I mean, I'm talking in cinemas. It's one, like, from a filmmaking perspective, incredible. You know, and it's even down to the little things like the music's playing, and on the beat, John Bernthal's character will look at Baby, and it's on the beat. Everything is on the beat. From the moment they get out of that car, they open the boot, they close the boot on the beat. Their steps are in time with the beat, walking towards the bank. Or later on in the film, you have when there's the shootouts.
Yes.
Every time there's a shootout, every shot is in sync with the music.
Yes, I noticed that. I mainly noticed that when it was Buddy, John Hamm, against the cops over the car, and it plays exactly, shoots just in time with the main.
Yeah,
the main.
And that actually happens in every shootout. It happens during the tequila section. And obviously the very obvious part in that is, you know, as the music, you know, he takes the grenade. When he pops the pin of the grenade, he holds it, which obviously you don't do with a grenade, but he holds it because the pin he pops in time with a particular beat in the song, and then he throws it in the car, and then it explodes on that particular beat, where in the song then Jamie Foxx goes tequila, like the song, like it's all choreographed to music. And let me tell you, making movies is hard. It's not easy. Like, it's like all my teachers at film school used to say, if making movies, if being a filmmaker was easy, everyone would do it, right? It's not easy. It is it's a very hard thing to do, to be a filmmaker, to be a director, everything. You've got to think about so much. Just to pull off anything like what Edgar Wright does in this film is insane. It's insane. That man is insane.
Minutes cost money. You have to get the actors to go to the exact... Because in a lot of the scenes, there's no editing in terms of, like, you know, the snap cuts. There is no room for them to just cut it to another scene to make it look like it lined up. The actors, the stunt drivers, everyone has to be on point with what the music is envisioned to be and make sure it works that way. And that's fucking difficult.
Look, like I said, it's difficult just to make a movie in the first place. Like, there's a reason why I finished film school and went, you know what? I don't want to be a filmmaker. I'm fine just doing the editing. I'm fine with that, but I don't want to be a filmmaker because it's so much to think about. But yeah, like that opening chase scene alone, you know, it's in time with the music, everything. And what I love about it is it immediately, it's not just the music, but Edgar Wright does a great job with sound design across all of his films. But in this film especially, the sound design is just on point. And going back to the shootouts, what I find interesting is those shootouts, now look, they very well could, like the flashes obviously are probably added in post, but on all film sets they shoot blanks, right?
Yeah.
The actors would have had to physically time when they shot to the beat of the music. And obviously a lot of this film would be ADR and like sound in post, because I feel like it's one of those things, but like they were even talking about like in interviews, you know, in some scenes the actors would have to act but also count in their head between each of their movements, count down, because it's this whole film is almost like a dance in a way. That's how Edgar Wright actually describes it. It's like a dance. Like that opening car chase scene isn't a car chase, it's a dance. It's the way the car moves around, not just to the beat, but the way the car just drifts around the place, the way Baby moves it, the way he drives. Like it's a dance almost. It's unlike any other car chases, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of car chases are very, like, yes, they're all choreographed. Obviously they have to be, but they all feel dirty. They feel like a car chase.
Yeah.
You know, they feel unpredictable, where this, it's unpredictable, but it's unpredictable in a different sense, because this is obviously so choreographed in not just the physicality of it on set, but the editing. It's all so choreographed that it's just, I don't know, I kind of lost my point where I was going with that, but like, it's...
You can tell how, much like how when people are dancing, you can tell how a dance is meant to go by the sound of the
structure.
song.
There's structure to it. You know, like dances, you know, when you're doing like a waltz or whatever, there's a structure to it.
And it's all dictated by the song.
That's how this goes. That car chase is very much, there's a structure to it based on what the music is. And I love that, like, immediately we don't follow the bank robbers. You know, the whole film focuses on Baby and his perspective in that opening scene, so we just stay with him in the car.
Yeah.
And that entire car chase sequence introduces all the elements of the film.
Yeah.
And by the time that sequence is done, you know exactly what this film is. And that's what I love about this film. This film is so jumpy in its cuts, but in a good way. It's not like Quantum of Solace, where it's so jumpy you can't see what's going on. Or actually, to put another example, Resident Evil, the final chapter, if we want to tie this whole episode together. It's not like that, where it's just so cutty and so jumpy and so many jump cuts you can't see what's going on. It's jumpy, but there's a point to it, and you can understand, because you've been exposed to that opening scene. You know how the film's choreographed, how it's styled, how it's edited. You understand what's happening. You can piece it together. And genuinely, it's one of my favorite films ever made, and I honestly think it actually should be considered up there as one of the best films ever made, just simply because... what the fuck is this film? You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane.
That's Edgar Wright's MO.
And what's interesting is, have you ever seen the music video that Edgar Wright did?
No, I have not.
That informed this, essentially, was him essentially testing the concept of this film, but like 15 years before he made it. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll link it to you. Watch it in your own time. Maybe watch it after the podcast, but you will see the DNA of this film. And in fact, this, I can't remember the name of the song, so I'm just going to look up Edgar Wright music video. Yeah, okay, so it's a song, I don't know if the song title's Blue Song by Mint Royale. And it's got Nick Frost in it, briefly, a couple of other actors, but this was made in 2003. And this is literally, I'm not kidding, the opening scene of Baby Driver. It's literally the same thing, but like way earlier on in his career. And like he's been working on Baby Driver throughout his career. Like Baby Driver wasn't something he started working on and then a couple of years later he had a film. Like he spent over a decade working on this film and writing the script. And interesting behind the scenes fact, and he talks about this in the director's commentary, he had the concept for the film, but the film started with the songs.
Yeah.
That's how this film started. And he made a playlist of songs, and when he was writing the script, he wrote the script to those songs. I mean, obviously, the whole film's based on the songs, but that's how it started. You know, before he had, like, a story or, you know, even action sequences. Like, I guarantee you he probably didn't have ideas for action sequences, but he had a playlist of songs ready to go.
I've got one note here, of just saying, the movie has the best soundtrack of any Edgar Wright film. I may not like the songs particularly, they're not my cup of tea. None of them are bad songs, and I may not listen to them in my free time. But the soundtrack for this movie is perfect for the film.
Yeah, and like when watching this film, you just have to appreciate how much work has gone into every single shot in this film. You know, like right up into even like, you know, Edgar Wright, like he had all the visual animatics, like he had the whole film essentially animated with these animatics before they even, you know, started production. Which for a film like this you have to do, because you have to know exactly how to time everything in the editing. Like, put it this way, this film was edited before it was even shot. Like it was edited before it was shot. And here's the thing, this isn't the first time Edgar Wright has done this either. You might remember a little scene in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Where
the classic Queen scene.
The Queen song. That was him, again, testing this format, testing this way of filmmaking, choreographing. Because, like, plenty of films obviously have soundtracks and, you know, music. And sometimes you might see a scene that's choreographed to a certain song, but never to anything like this extent. You know, like, especially with films, you know, the score is always done after the fact. It's never done during production. The one shot at the start of the film, after that big chase, you have a whole, literally like 3-minute sequence, the length of a song, and it's a one shot.
It's always moving. And the thing is, it's not one shot of like, okay, like as we said earlier, we brought up James Bond with Spectre.
It's not like the one shot in that film. Is that what you're gonna say? Where it's like got hidden cuts?
Like, I'm not even gonna say the hidden cuts thing. I'm just gonna say is with James Bond, it's got like, it's not always moving, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes you've got points where James is just walking to another point. With Baby
walking across a rooftop, trying not to break his leg.
With Baby Driver, either Baby's always moving, there's something always in the background. There's not a moment of...
Everything is synced to that song.
Exactly.
Everything. For example... you know, not only just is it synced, but like all the graffiti on the walls are lyrics of the song that come on screen as they play in the song.
Then when the brass solo comes on, Baby walks past the brass instrument store and pretends to play. It's all so intentionally placed. It's great.
And not just the sound design. You know, like when he goes into the coffee shop, the actual sound of the coffee machine and everything is all done. The sound design, so like when he's walking past the little, you know, there's like I think he looks like a homeless guy, but he's like playing the drums, like he's got like
the
a
busker.
Little, the busker, and he's playing that, like he's literally playing to the beat of the song, that probably wasn't playing as well, so he probably would have had to just have this rhythm in his head and just do it. Like there probably would have had to be in a specific mark to when Baby gets to a specific point, that's when he starts, so it's in time. Because like it's not just in time sound design, because you could easily just have him move some drumsticks and just edit in a drum sound, like a beat sound. Like you don't have to have him physically necessarily do it, because he's only on screen for like a second or two, and you're not paying attention to his hands, right? Like you're not paying attention to that. But when you look at him, when you watch him do it, he's doing it. Like it's in exact perfect timing. When the cop drives, but like when cars are driving past, the horns, and this is even in the opening chase as well, like car horns and things like that. Like the world sound design is all it's all lined up, and it's just fucking good.
Baby Driver is the look into what an OCD madman is like.
Yeah, it's got that Edgar Wright DNA, like we were talking about, but it's just such a unique Edgar Wright film. Like, he's not going to make anything like this again.
And that's good.
And he's never really made anything like it beforehand either. Like, it's distinctly Edgar Wright, but it's also distinctly Baby Driver, and I'm looking forward, like his new film's another complete departure for him. Like, it's a horror movie, a psychological horror movie.
Like, I don't
normally
watch those, but it's the director drawing me in. Also Matt Smith.
Not only that, like the trailers. Have you seen the trailers?
I have seen the trailer, yeah.
They're just interesting, and they're well-made trailers. They're really well-made trailers. But I'm just interested to see what he does. And he's even departed a bit recently as well. He did a documentary recently as well.
Really?
He did a documentary called The Sparks Brothers.
It's the same way you can differentiate, like, outside of the obvious things that make the Cornetto trilogy. You don't clump in Scott Pilgrim there. Scott Pilgrim is another one that is so distinctly Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, he just has a style, and I really enjoy watching his films, because when you watch an Edgar Wright film, you're going to get an absolute banger of a film. But not only are you going to get a banger of a film, you're going to get a very unique film, and something that's very well made, very unique. A lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of care has gone into it. Edgar Wright hasn't made a bad film.
Let's hope that continues.
He just hasn't, right? He's one of the few filmmakers that hasn't made a bad film. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's made bad films, but I'm talking about his theatrical releases, his big films. Like, every filmmaker makes bad films. Like, you can't get good at being a filmmaker without making a pile of shit. And I'm sure Edgar Wright has a hard drive somewhere filled with just shit short films that he's made over the years. And that's what every filmmaker has, like
trial and error.
They have. I don't think I have a lot more to say on it in terms of like the making of the film. Like, I'm pretty sure we've covered it very well, and we mostly just talked about music. that's really about
that's the main DNA of the movie.
But let's talk. What do you think of the general story? Like, what do you think of the story of Baby Driver?
Story-wise, it's a pretty basic. Like, it feels, you don't really ever focus on the getaway driver, really, in an action film at least. So that's a breather for modern Hollywood.
They are the unsung heroes of the criminal underworld, and they need more representation.
I think the plot itself is your classic boy meets girl, boy can't be with girl, boy does something stupid story, and it works very well. The story, it doesn't need to be groundbreaking. It's no offense to him, none of his stories are particularly groundbreaking. I would say...
But that's the thing, you don't really watch an Edgar Wright film for the plot.
No, you watch it for the style, the finesse, the act, like, anything that...
The comedy, the filmmaking...
Exactly. The
acting.
The story is the last thing I actually fully care about, because it's a basic plot. The zombie apocalypse, people go to the pub to survive.
What's great is... the plot is basic, but how he integrates the characters, the themes into that plot, that's where the genius comes from.
Yeah.
Because like the general plots of his films are, like you said, they're pretty standard stuff, right? Zombie apocalypse, like you said, you got to go to the pub to survive or whatever. It's a heist movie, but it's not really about the heist.
Exactly.
It's about the baby's personal character journey that he goes on. And Edgar Wright is masterful at tying themes together and character journey and things like that. And that's what you want. Like I'm all about character more than I'm about plot. Like these films are about a character journey. It's about exploring very specific themes, all in a very stylized, heightened way.
Yeah.
It's not about what happens to get the characters to point A to B.
Yeah, like, it's really simple with Baby Driver. He jacks some guy's car, he's paying off that problem, he's got one last job, he met a girl. It's simple. That's...
Yeah, he's got one last job, but then he just does more than one last job. It's like the Fast and Furious movies where they're like one last time and then they make another like 10 movies.
It's... yeah, so in terms of the general direction of the movie, it doesn't really matter in the long term what I think of it, because as long as it's like coherent, which it definitely is, it's the style that I care about. It's
and like I said, that's what you see an Edgar Wright film for.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, it's about like Shaun of the Dead, and we'll talk about this more in the next episode, but like Shaun of the Dead it's more of a social commentary than it is anything else. You know, like it's a social commentary about, you know, how we have just all become zombies in our lives, and, you know, like, you know, we're like Shaun, we just live our day-to-day lives and we go to the same job and we follow the same routines day in, day out. And that's what that film's about. That film's not about a zombie apocalypse. Like, like it's all about breaking out of that routine and, you know, finding who you are outside of that. And
it's scary. You don't know what to do once things are different. Once the routine's broken, it's all about finding the new routine. It's a good film, and we will talk more about it.
It's how you change about, like, we'll go more in depth on that, because I think all three of those films have some really interesting themes that they explore. But, you know, like the whole zombie part of it is Shaun is the zombie. You know, I guess this, like, I don't think this film is as deep as Shaun of the Dead is, because Shaun of the Dead is a very deep film when you start thinking about it. Like, it's got a lot going on in it. It's not just fun action comedy zombie movie. Like, there's actually a lot of deep social commentary themes. Baby Driver's not as deep as that, I will say. Like, it's not as deep. But the journey of, you know, like, Baby is kind of lost in the world. You know, like, he's trapped in this thing, but he's kind of lost. He doesn't really know, like, he knows who he is, but he doesn't know really what to do with it.
Yeah.
And then he finds Lily James's character, and she mentions going off on this road trip or whatever, and that sparks a thing in him. And, you know, obviously that's how they meet, and that's how that kind of connection forms.
Finding something that you want to do for you is kind of like, yeah, he wants to do it for Lily James's character, but he wants to do it for the love. He wants to do it just to not be doing what he's doing. Because the way he works at the beginning of the movie is he serves everyone else.
Yeah.
He's Doc's plaything. He's the crew's plaything.
He's looking after the old guy.
Yeah,
like,
Joe,
he's literally, like, he's not living his life for himself.
He's in servitude to literally everyone. And
yeah.
So when he finally finishes his job, like, he had that one last job, even then he gets dragged back into the...
Well, it's not just that. He also, like, when he finishes it, he really, like, he doesn't really know what to do. You know, like, I mean, like, he has the inkling, like, he knows, like, I want to go off and do that. But, like, there's that moment where he's, like, he's now just unsure.
Yeah, and...
of, like, the world's his oyster. And I don't even know if that made sense. But, like...
Yeah, exactly. Like, when he did get out the first time, what does he do? He starts driving again, except he does it for Joe, because Joe's like, pizza, make people happy. It's the exact same shit, just in a different wrapping.
Yeah.
And then
And anyway, the film ends up with him in prison, so
he's serving time. He serves literally everyone. Um,
yeah.
there is that briefest moment at the end of the film where, you know, everyone's fucking gone besides the girlfriend. And he has that one moment of self-control where she could have kept going and he could have lived his life on the run. But he took that one moment to fight against everything and went, I'm going to jail. I can fix everything when I'm out.
He made that decision himself.
Exactly.
You know, because like like when shit hits the fan in that final like part of the film is when he kills bats.
It's all when he
actively
starts
makes
doing
the chills.
things.
Yeah, it's when he starts doing things, shit hits the fan. But even when he's doing it, he's making the choice to kill bats, but he's kind of forced into it. So it's still not entirely him making those choices. But when you get to the end of the film, when they're trapped, like they have no way out. There is no version of that scenario where he doesn't get arrested. But he makes that choice himself. He takes that situation into his own hands, and you know, and he's no longer, you know, a servant to everything around him, and trapped in everything around him. He's making a call for himself, that obviously is, you know, a bad one for him, but it's something that he chooses himself, and it's him taking control of his life. That's his character arc, and I think it's a really, really well done character arc. And like you said, it's very flashy, and you know, it's a heightened world with all these heightened characters. Like none of these characters, even Baby, none of these characters are real people.
No.
Like they're not relatable in that sense, but
It's their struggles that they go through.
Yeah.
Their existence is relatable, their actions are not.
Yeah. Like even the, you know, like even John Hamm's character, you know, like he comes across as like the nice guy for part of it, you know, like he's the guy in the group that's like, and that's a really good like subversion as well to throw to, because they very clearly push Jamie Foxx as like he's the one that is going to cause trouble, and then they subvert that by John Hamm being that character at the end. And then yeah, Jamie Foxx just doesn't trust Baby from the get-go, and there's like that tension there the whole time, and so you're like, oh well, obviously this is going to build and build and build, and it does build to that moment where he kills him, and then suddenly it subverts the rest of the film, because now all of a sudden it's like, oh well, the guy we think is going to be like the problem guy is now gone. He's out of the picture. So and then you think, well, is it going to be Kevin Spacey's character? And then he ends up helping him, and then he gets gloriously ran over twice. Good scene, that one. And yeah, it's just like it all boils down to, you know, John Hamm, who, I mean, he's really not like, I mean,
he's not a bad
guy. They do make it a kind of, I mean, they make a point that he's like a Wall Street kind of guy, so, you know, like he is a bit of a bad person, but he's not like,
in like the role of the movie that we see, he is arguably the best person there.
I think he's the most level-headed person in the crew.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin Spacey's the most level-headed person in the whole thing, but like in terms of the crew doing the job, he's the one that's like very level-headed. But then yeah, they do kind of hint at it a little bit, especially once he starts to stop trusting Baby, because Baby's doing like weird things. You know, you see him there, and I love how the film sets up Jamie Foxx to be standing there as Baby's trying to drive out. Like they're like, oh well, it'll be him there, and then it's John Hamm, so it's a nice bit of foreshadowing. But even when shit's going down, you know, like you don't get the sense that John Hamm is immediately like, fuck you, Baby, like this is all your fault or anything. That doesn't happen until
Monica gets killed.
Monica gets killed, and then it becomes a thing.
And it's a completely reasonable thing.
Because at the start of it, when they all get out of the car after he's killed Jamie Foxx, he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, But yeah, like I think it's a really well made movie. It's a well written movie. It's a bit of fun,
Yeah.
and it's
It
genius.
flies by. It is such a well-paced movie as well.
Oh, it's perfectly paced.
Exactly. It's
Like, there's not a dull moment in this film. Like, every moment has meaning. Even something as simple sitting in a laundromat, you know, that scene has meaning. There's a lot going on in that scene, just narratively wise, and for the characters, even though they're doing literally nothing. It's just good. And also, Edgar Wright finds a way to make it interesting. He has the music playing. Every different washing machine has a different color in it. You know, the first time you see the characters in that location, they're tapping their feet to the song, and you know, it all ties back to the mother and everything. But in the end, he sacrifices essentially his life for the girl that he loves, because, you know, like, he can't go on the run and they can't live that kind of life, so he's gone to serve 25.
and he has,
you know,
because of all the good things that he's done, he only gets, like, at least, he has a chance of getting out in 5.
yeah,
Which he does.
I mean, maybe, like, the ending is very much played as like a dream.
It starts as a dream when it does the American, like the old 1950s, but then as it fades into color and more modernity, I see that as him actually getting out, personally.
I see that. See, here's the thing. I see that as him getting out, but, you know, it's like it's not them in 5 years. It's them in present day, and it's. I see it as, like, he sees it as they're picking up right where they left off.
Okay.
You know, no matter how long he's been in there, like, to him, she waited for him, he's been holding it out for her, and they're just gonna get in that car and go do what they said they were gonna do, and they're just picking up right where they left off.
I can dig
that's
that.
like, I don't see that as, like, yes, that could be, like, what's physically happening, but I'm just saying, like, that scene is shown as a dream to start off with, and maybe it isn't a dream, and, like, when it signals the color, you know, it's the happy ending and whatever, but I like, they both look the same, and I know even when 5 years passed, you know, 5 years has passed, you know, so, like, yeah, I feel like, and maybe it could be, like, full 25 years, and they're both older, but, like, that's how I see it.
I can dig your interpretation
when they
of
left
that.
off. And look, maybe it's a fucking dream. Yeah, I don't know. I don't nothing else to say about this film. Really.
Nothing.
Like I said, I didn't want to do a deep dive on it. I just thought, let's just talk about it.
I think we're still
Let's give them-
covered a pretty decent amount of it. Reminds me of that age-old comment. My favorite comment that's ever been on this channel was always that comment about how we had one specific topic and still ended up talking about Doctor Who for a majority of the video. That's always going to be my favorite comment, and somehow we still live by that. But still, we actually got...
It's always Doctor Who and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
They're the two things we talk about. Pretty much every episode in some form. Like, very soon, as soon as I finished Final Fantasy VII, and I'll talk about Final Fantasy VII in a catch-up once I finished it. Because I still haven't finished it, and I play it kind of in bits. I'm going to try and finish it soon, though, because I want to kind of move on to other games. So I'll try and finish it soon. But once I finish that, I guess where I'm going back to, Resident Evil. So in each catch-up segment, I'm going to be like, I'm playing Resident Evil 1, and this is where I'm up to.
And of course, I'm going to keep watching classic Who, so I've always got us covered on the Doctor Who front.
Yeah.
No, we actually got a decent
stuff.
amount talked about Baby Driver. It's a very...
But yeah, I think that brings us to the end. This has been a good episode. I've really enjoyed just generally catching up with you, because, like, last episode, you know, we've been on obviously a hiatus, and last episode we didn't really get the chance to catch up a lot because we were talking about Suicide Squad, and then obviously you were running out of time, so we had to kind of very quickly get through the Marvel stuff, and we didn't really have a time to just sit down and chat. And I was a little worried about these next couple of episodes, because I was like, we're going to have a couple of guests on as well, and it's probably going to be like a good, you know, 3 or 4 episodes before we really get the chance to just properly catch up. And you know, as we were meant to have a guest on this episode, but I'm kind of glad he wasn't here, because scheduling conflicts and everything. But I'm kind of glad he wasn't here because it actually gave us a chance to really, just take some time and
dig in,
catch up and see what's happening. But the good news is, Lewin, moving forward from here,
yes,
is we're back.
Yeah,
and that we're back. We're excited to be back. Excited to be here. Would love to see it. We got plenty of stuff coming your way for the rest of this year. We've got, like I said, we've got another Edgar Wright episode coming up. We might have a guest on that one. We're going to talk about the Edgar Wright, new Edgar Wright film, Last Night in Soho. That's going to come up probably early November because I like those first couple of weeks in November. Late November, we got No Time to Die.
Yep.
What else have we got? Resident Evil in December. January, we're going to be covering Witcher. We're going to be covering Book of Boba Fett. So
we're busy on this podcast.
And not just on this podcast, throughout this whole time, we're also going to have, at the end of this month, throughout November, we're going to have Doctor Who related episodes. And who knows, maybe even a New Year's one, because I don't know if they're going to spread out the 3 specials across the year.
Well, logically,
or whether they're just going to put them together.
The final special will have to air by October 15th, which is the BBC's centenary.
Yeah, like that'll happen then. So I don't know if they're gonna like air them together.
I hope they spread them out.
They spread them out. Like maybe we might have a New Year's special. We might have another Easter special, and then maybe the third. Because that's kind of how they did it with Waters of Mars. Like there wasn't a big gap between the Christmas special and Planet of the Dead.
Fucking Planet of the Dead. Sorry, no, I'm not gonna get into that now. Sorry.
There was a longer gap between, like, there was a shorter gap between Waters of Mars and End of Time, but there was, like, that long gap in the middle of the year between the two. So maybe it might be something similar. Maybe we might have another Easter special and then, a few month gap, and then we'll have, because Waters of Mars would have aired around...
Waters of Mars was November.
November? You're joking. Really?
Hold up. I swear it was November, because I actually did search this up.
I thought it was like October, like September.
Hold up
a minute.
Waters of Mars was
Doctor in Distress.
What the fuck? Nah, that can't be right. Nah, you're taking the piss.
When was it?
One thing is saying that it was the fucking 19th of December, which it was not. It was the 15th of November.
15th of November.
Yeah.
Yikes, man.
And Planet of the Dead was the episode before that, and that was April.
And that was on...
That was March to April.
That's a lot longer than I thought it was. Wow. That brings us to the end. God, how do I usually end these? My God, it's been so long.
It has been...
Do you want to end it? You end it. You can do it.
You can, since we've actually moved... Oh my God, we didn't do the thing at the beginning like we now do. Right, you can catch us on all our applicable streaming platforms when we have the podcast station back. Spotify, Google.
Yeah, I have to pay money. Yeah, Google will be back. I think as soon as I reinstate the RSS feed, Google will just reinstate the podcast. Right now, you can't find us on Google at all. They've taken us down, but you can still find us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or whatever the Apple thing is called.
As well as, of course, you can find us on... I'm assuming if you had to find out about the streaming stuff, you're already here. But Rebelcroft at the moment.
Hey, that's my channel.
That's the channel you probably watching.
Just to clarify, the Doctor Who show, when that comes, that won't be on this channel. I'm thinking I'll put that on its own thing. But I'll keep the Turning Point podcast on my channel for now. On my YouTube channel, and even though I won't add, since our last episode, I did actually go through and unlist all the previous episodes from last year. So when you go to my videos tab on my channel, you can't actually find those videos there. And I did this, Lewin, simply just because I wanted to declutter my channel a little bit. So, I unlisted all of my old content prior to the Resident Evil video. You can still find that. It's in its own playlist. If you go to the playlists, you can find our old GTA videos and everything. They're all still there. They just don't appear in the video feed. And it's the same with the Turning Point podcast. So what I'm going to be doing moving forward is, once we move into the next year, I'm just going to clean slate. And I'm just going to unlist all the videos. But don't stress... Because you know how we were talking about the back catalogue early on? Guess what? It's still there. Yeah. There's a playlist that says the Turning Point Podcast every episode is in that playlist. So even though you might not be able to find it on the channel in the video feed, go to the playlist tab, click on Turning Point Podcast, you will find all 20 whatever episodes we're up
Check us out
to this point. So they're all there. Otherwise, alternatively, do what I actually want you to do and go and listen to us on streaming platforms, because that's where you'll find us all. I'm only unlistening it from the YouTube channel because, you know, the podcast videos, they have a lifespan.
Yes.
They're not videos that, like, I can keep up, really. Like, I could take the podcast videos down and it doesn't
If you guys
matter.
want to listen to us talk about Resident Evil 3 as if it's a new release, go ahead.
I mean, we kind of did. It was like a month or so late. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's only because I had to finish the game. Hey, if you want to do that, if you want to watch a video a year later on Resident Evil 3, then you can go to my channel and watch that. But yeah, also on top of that, I have social media links down below. You can find me at Rebelcroft on Twitter. I also have my virtual photography account, which I actually just posted a new Cyberpunk photo to recently as well.
Nice.
I've been playing a bit of Cyberpunk recently again. I know, Lewin's favourite game of 2020.
If you want to hear more about my thoughts on that, go to the back catalogue.
Doing a bit of that, and I thought, why not take some photos while I'm at it? So if you like virtual photography, I have Cyberpunk, I have Tomb Raider, I have Resident Evil, all on my Instagram account. So head on over there, check that out. Yeah. And yeah, I'm done.
I'm also done.
I'm done, Lewin. That's it.
Oh wait, are we still recording?
Yeah.
Sorry about the cat, everybody. That's all.
There was
it didn't come through
if
for
it makes
you.
you feel better,
I'm sure it will show up
If
on
it
the
makes you
recording.
feel better, I didn't have. Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm not listening through. I mean, I am listening through your mic, but I'm not listening through your raw audio,
Yeah, I know.
which I will be when I edit this.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to you in advance.
But yeah, this is fun. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks probably for the next one.
Yeah, for Edgar Wright and then Doctor Who. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. See you next time. Bye, everyone.